My presentation is all about partner-led success in SaaS, so anything as a service. My original title was, why partners aren't always awesome, but I think I was pretty grumpy when I wrote that, Ralph, so I changed it. Hope that's all right. A little bit about where I'm from. I'm the CSM at Jerrard, so we're a hardware and software manufacturer with some deep tech expertise. So we make our own sensor technology, and we have more than 100 regional partners in 70 countries. And we work with a lot of very varied customers, environmental protection agencies, universities, and R&D teams as well, but primarily focus on the industrial sector, which is why we're really heavily dependent on partners. Basically, what we do is we come up with air quality solutions, and if you're in mining or construction or whatever it might be, and you just want to know the impact of your activity, indoor or outdoor, you get in touch with us. And so we can measure all sorts of harmful chemicals, gases, and then feed that information back and do a number of different forms of analysis, which is what forms the basis of our product. Our partner ecosystem, is a little bit complex. We have strategic alliances, channel partners that are much more simple and straightforward, and tech partners as well. And, they manage indirect sales, they're indirect or system integrators. We sometimes have to outsource manufacturing, and we have lots of other resellers as well. But fundamentally, our partner, agreements are quite loose. That allows partners quite a lot of flexibility to be whoever they need to be, depending on the needs of their customer. And that's where the good and the bad sometimes come into play. There are really great benefits and some pitfalls to working with partners, especially ones that you've got overseas. A lot of the time that you have, from the good perspective, you obviously lower your CAC. You can scale quickly, grow rapidly in the markets, and, really improve your stickiness. And for me, the ultimate dream is really using partners to actually deliver customer success so that you don't have to, especially when you're like me and just on your own for the time being. Some of the bad, there are definitely some downsides, and I have seen quite a few shocking examples of working with partners and doing it really poorly. Partners are always only going to be as good as you enable and empower them to be. So for me, the key difference is to treat them no differently than an actual customer, because sometimes the things I have seen is that you can have a loss of control of sales or marketing. You can open up yourself to more reputational risk. If things go bad, it's harder to speak and connect with end customers, and training and support becomes a lot more complex. I think the worst scenarios I've seen are where you get burnt by partners who you've profiled really poorly, and so you either end up competing with them in some way, or worse, others just don't like them and they like you instead. So what can we do to make our partners more successful, or partnerships successful with customer success? For me, my guiding customer success principles are, to always teach my team that partners are people too. Seems silly based on the topic of my presentation, but they sometimes heavily undervalued and thought of just purely strategically, but not about how they can deliver real customer value and outcomes. I try to encourage decentralizing customer success and outcomes as much as possible to make sure that the wider team at large knows that we all contribute to the overall experience. Try to implement the strategy that's scalable and allows integration, which isn't closed off, is really important as well. And lastly, trying to really move away from kind of what I think are more traditional but slightly outdated ways of managing sometimes accounts, which are purely segmented maybe on value or maybe sometimes on growth, and less on a combination of the entire journey and the successful outcomes you want them to get to. So for Jerrard, and what I've come up with is more of a hybridized fluid partnership journey, so that all partners go through a foundation where we have a unified view of their activities and how they're going and what they might be getting up to. But depending on their interaction with customers, they're able to go down either a fulfillment pathway where it's really simple and they can actually trigger a journey that an end customer might go on their own, or one which is more value added, so that if they need more information from us about how they can modify our tools or software, that they can do that themselves, but then also customize the journey for their end customer. So there's no real work for them to do or for us to do. It's already pre-prepared. And that's really what I'm trying to implement as quickly as I can as we grow really quickly.
60 seconds to go.
Thanks, Ralph. For me, I think the most important thing, as always, is just focusing on the entire journey, right? And number one, ensuring you have a really robust knowledge supply chain, because that's where most things go wrong. Try to implement hybrid strategies where you can to manage experiences, and don't be afraid to innovate together. And the last point, I think it's been talked about before, is making sure you set and stick to clear expectations, because that's where things, which you can easily fall into traps. And thank you for listening.